Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel Bio Explorer. I am Dimudya Ratna. This is an educational channel and this channel will be very useful to improve your biological knowledge. Today we are going to start the topic about main organic compounds of organisms. First, we will talk about carbohydrates. I think you are familiar with the word carbohydrate. It is a group of organic compounds found in a variety of foods that we have in our day-to-day life, such as rice, bread, biscuits, hoppers, etc. It is also the most abundant group of organic compound found on Earth. Major elemental composition is carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrates of carbon contain the same proportion of hydrogen to oxygen, which equals to 2:1 as in water. General formula for carbohydrates can be mentioned as on the screen. Three major groups of carbohydrates are monosaccharides, disaccharides and polysaccharides. Generally, carbohydrates include sugar and polysaccharides. Monosaccharides. They are the simple sugars. The most common type of monosaccharide is glucose. The general molecular formula of monosaccharides is CH2ON. All monosaccharides are reduced in sugars, water-soluble and occur in crystalline form. They typically contain 3 to 7 carbon atoms, therefore, according to the number of carbon atoms, they are named as 3 carbons, we name them as triose, example, glyceraldehydes. 4 carbon, we call them tetrose, example, erythrose in rare in nature. 5 carbon, pentose, example, ribose, deoxyribose and ribulose. 6 carbon, we call them hexose, example, glucose, fructose and galactose. Most of the oxygen atoms in monosaccharides are found in hydroxyl groups, but one of them is a part of a carbonyl group. According to the position of carbonyl groups, sugars can be categorized as aldose and ketose. Examples for aldose is glucose and galactose, and for ketose, examples are fructose and dihydroxyacetone. If the carbonyl carbon is internal to the chain so that there are other carbons on both sides of it, it forms a ketone group and the sugar is called a ketone. Most monosaccharides, especially 5 and 6 carbon sugars, are found as linear molecules, that is, straight chains, or in one or more ring-shaped forms. These forms exist in equilibrium with each other, but equilibrium strongly favors the ring forms, particularly in aqueous or water-based solution. For example, over 99% of glucose is typically found as 6-membered ring. The linear form can convert into 2 different ring forms named alpha and beta, differing in the position of the hydroxyl group derived from the carbonyl of the linear form. Disaccharides. They are sugars formed by joining 2 monosaccharides by a glycosidic bond. Formation of a glycosidic bond is a dehydration reaction and also known as a condensation reaction or dehydration synthesis. Here, 2 adjacent monosaccharides combine together, forming a covalent bond named glycosidic linkage by Removal of a water molecule which is formed by the hydroxyl group of one monosaccharide and hydrogen from adjoining monosaccharide molecule. Glucose plus glucose forms maltose, glucose plus fructose forms sucrose, and glucose plus galactose form lactose. Those maltose, sucrose, and lactose are examples for disaccharides. Maltose and lactose are reducing sugars, and sucrose is a non-reducing sugar. In organic chemistry, the carbons in the carbon chain in the above rings of carbohydrates are numbered for ease of study. With the help of that, we can identify different types of glycosidic bonds, and most common are 1 to 4 glycosidic bond and 1 to 6 glycosidic bond. In 1 to 4 glycosidic bond, number 1 carbon bonds with number 4 carbon, and in 1 to 6 glycosidic bond, number 1 carbon bonds with carbon number 6. Polysaccharides. They are macromolecules and biopolymers. A long chain of monosaccharides linked by glycosidic bonds is known as a polysaccharide. They are made up of few hundred to a few thousand monosaccharide subunits. They can be branched or unbranched and may contain different types of monosaccharides. They are non-crystalline, water insoluble, and not considered as sugars. Polysaccharides can be categorized into two types based on their functions. As storage polysaccharides, they act as storage components. Then structural polysaccharides, they contribute to the structure of living organisms. Polysaccharides also can be categorized according to their architecture as linear forms, example cellulose and amylose, and branch form, example glycogen, amylopectin, and hemcellulose. Now let us look at some examples for polysaccharides. First one, starch. Starch is the storage form of sugar in plants, and it is made up of a mixture of two polysaccharides named amylose and amylopectin. Plants produce glucose during photosynthesis, and excess glucose is converted into starch and is stored in different parts of the plant body. Glycogen. It is the storage form of glucose in humans and in other vertebrates and fungi. It is made up of glucose monomers and is highly branched. Glycogen is usually stored in liver and in muscle cells. Conversion of glycogen into glucose and vice versa occurs according to blood glucose levels with the influence of hormones. Cellulose. It is a major component in plant cell wall and is made up of unbranched glucose monomer linked by 2 to 4 glycosidic bonds. The way of which glucose monomers have combined with each other result in long non-helical chains of cellulose which cluster together to form parallel bundles that are held together by hydrogen bonds. Amylose is made up of unbranched chains of glucose monomers connected by 2 to 4 glycosidic bonds. Amylopectin is also branched, and most of its monomers are connected by 1 to 4 linkages, but some monomers are connected by 1 to 6 linkages. This results in branch points forming a helical structure. Functions of carbohydrates. First one, monosaccharides. Monosaccharides act as an energy source. Example, glucose is broken down to produce ATP in mitochondria during the process called cellular respiration. Building blocks of disaccharides and polysaccharides and components of nucleotides. Example, DNA and RNA. Disaccharides. The storage sugar in milk, that is lactose. Translocation in phloem, sucrose. The storage sugar in sugar cane, that is sucrose. Polysaccharides. First one, storage polysaccharides. The starch stores glucose as energy source in plants and chlorophytes. Glycogen stores glucose as energy source in animals and fungi. Insulin stores fructose as energy source in Dahlia tubers. Structural polysaccharides. Cellulose in cell walls of plants and chlorophytes. Pectin in middle lamella of plant tissues. Hemicellulose in cell walls of plants. Peptidoglycan in cell walls of prokaryotes, and chitin in the cell walls of fungi and in exoskeleton of arthropods. So that's for today. Hope you enjoyed this video and gain a lot of facts for your biological knowledge. So please subscribe this channel and click the bell icon, and see you in the next video.